15 carries from Saquon, and he's hitting the backfield like 10 of those times, 12 of those times. I mean, there's just no running room. And I will say this about the offensive line. I was, as much as they sucked in the run, I'm encouraged by their play, pass protection. The fact that they were able to give Daniel a lot of time on a lot of the passing attempts was great. Now, that being said, if Eli's back there, I think, I put the over under at 4 sacks. I think they had 2 or 3 sacks. But Daniel doesn't, does a great job of getting away from the rush and picking up, not only getting away from the rush, but picking up huge chunks of yards and first downs, especially on third down. So people forget that, Eli was never like that. So if we're making comparisons saying Daniel Jones is Eli Manning clone, you're wrong, son, because dude's got legs and he can motor and make some positive plays scrambling. So encouraged by the pass protection. I mean, the rushing attack stunk, but then it picked up a little bit in the second half. So that was a drive where it just seemed like we're picking up crucial third down after crucial third down. That fourth down play, I think it was like 4th and 1, where it looked like he's got no options. He's basically like running for his life, and he throws it all the way back to Saquon, who barely gets it. I mean, it was a drive that I thought was going to be like, we've arrived. The New York Giants have arrived, and it's this drive that is our calling card for the rest of the league. And then they boot him left. And Saquon's kind of covered, and there's all kinds of Steelers in the end zone. I think maybe it's Slayton in the back of the end zone, and then you have Caden Smith, who's kind of getting open in the middle. He's just hanging out. He's not going with Daniel. He's just plopping down. And I thought Daniel was going to see him turn and fire it to Caden Smith for the touchdown, but I didn't realize Bud Dupree is just like a superhero. Like he has a cape and powers. I didn't realize that Bud Dupree was that, exceptional. And it was a wake-up call for me, for sure, because he just was on Daniel Jones. By the time he had his arm up, he hits his arm, and then it pops up. And as soon as it pops up in the air, you're like, that's the end of the ball game. And sure enough, Cam Hayward, a fucking defensive lineman, is able to come down with it. But in one of the post-game interviews, Jones, I don't know if it was probably not right after the game, but maybe another one. He said that he was trying to throw it away out of the end zone. And I'm thinking to myself, dude, you're outside the tackle box. Just get it near the line of scrimmage. It doesn't have to be through the end zone. Throw it to the sideline. Just get rid of it. Ditch it. So Daniel still has that problem. But man, so that's another 6 points. So you're looking at 3, 4 plus 6. You're looking at 9 to 10 points. How much did we lose by? 10 points. Just little plays here and there that make all the difference in the world and could turn a 10-point deficit into a tie ball game or even a win. So, yeah, turnovers are still an issue for Jones, but at least it's not fumbles. He did technically have the one fumble that wasn't called that, is Judge supposed to try and overturn that because then Gates recovers it in the end zone? I don't know that anyone really asked Judge about that or that he even answered it. He might have danced around it, but it's one of those things where not sensing the pressure and always seeming to get hit right in the middle of throwing. But there was another instance where, so that's not technically a fumble, even though it was. And, especially in the red zone, it's like you cannot turn the ball over in the red zone. I mean, that interception in the red zone was the first one you've probably seen a million times. First interception in the red zone since his sophomore year at Duke. So he's not prone to turning the ball over in the red zone. And maybe he just got out of his system, He's got to cleanse the palate a little bit, detox. And then he has the fumble in the 3, and it's like, oh, Jesus, like we can't have that in the red zone. Every red zone opportunity has to be, we have to get points and points that result in touchdowns. No more of this field goal bullshit. I think the Steelers were 3 for 4 in the red zone. Giants were 1 for 3. For 3 for 3? For 2 for 3? Different ball game. So it's it's tough. But there wasn't, I think Jones has still improved significantly. There was another play where he's running and he gets hit, and I think old him last year, 2019, Daniel Jones probably fumbles the ball. But this time he had 2 hands of the ball. He doesn't fumble the ball. So I think that's a great example of how he's progressed and he's evolved, and you can see he's consciously making the effort to be better. The Steelers touchdown there was 1:32 left on the clock when they get the ball in the first half, and they go down and score a touchdown. Just can't have it. You can't have it. That was just a real backbreaker. Because we were up, 10-9. Steelers kicker missed the extra point on the previous touchdown. So we're up 10-9. We give them the ball back, 1:32, and then the defense just has to make a stop, And instead, we go into the locker room 16-10, and the Steelers get the ball in the second half. Little things, man. Little things. Benny Snell, James Conner, he goes down with injury. You figure, oh, great. Their number 1 running back is down. So maybe we'll be able to capitalize on that. Nope. Benny Snell. I didn't even realize that he rushed for this much. 19 carries for 113 yards. He averaged almost 6 yards a carry. How did that happen? I don't remember that at all. I thought we did pretty well against the run. This is pretty sad. Big Ben had more rushing yards than Saquon. Saquon had 6 yards, and Big Ben had 9 yards carrying. Which I thought we were going to steal one because I thought Big Ben was going to be rusty. I really did think that he was going to come. He had so much time off. He's older now, and I heard all this hype about him. Everyone's so excited to see him back and all this nonsense. And I really thought that he was going to come out and be rusty. And he pretty much was rusty for most of the first half. We were able to get to him. He, the pressure we were putting on him, he was inaccurate with his throws because of the pressure. We had pretty much 2 coverage sacks, if I'm not mistaken, where he just refused to get rid of the ball. And, he does that. He holds on the ball because he feels like he can make a play. And he ends up throwing for 3 touchdowns. And averaging more than 10 yards of completion. But the Benny Snell rushing for 113 on 19 is baffling to me, because it didn't feel like we were getting gashed or gouged in the run game. I felt like we held our own. But JuJu had himself a night, 6 catches, 69 yards, 2 touchdowns. Caught every single one of his targets. The one that really bothered me was the touchdown against Bradbury towards the end. That one really hit home for me, because I just, that you have issues at the other corner positions. That Darnay Holmes is still kind of a project. He's going to get beat here and there. Ballantyne is not the answer at the second cornerback position. Isaac Yiadom, is so new to everything that he got beat for, I think it was when we brought the house on the touchdown from Roethlisberger to Washington, where he just floated it. Ben just basically backpedaled and just floated it, because he knew that there's just Yiadom had no help, and he got beat. But it stunk seeing JuJu catch that on Bradbury, because you have to feel like at least Bradbury is going to be the guy that they avoid, and that he's not going to give up touchdowns. And maybe he'll give up some passes, rinky-dink passes here and there that won't be that won't really hurt the ball club. He's at least not going to give up touchdowns, and he gives up a touchdown. You're like, And you watch it, and the commentary was basically saying, the Giants were getting killed on rub routes and crossing routes yet again. It's one of those things where I feel like maybe we can rectify that easily. It's not something that is going to be like I hopefully not kill us all year, but it's one of those things where it's like, hey, we need to communicate better on these rub routes. And if we're going to play a lot of man coverage because that's our strength, but at the same time, this is going to happen. They're going to rub the fuck out of us. So how do we defend against that? And that means not lining up at the same depth, staggering our depths, etc. But I don't think that was Bradbury's fault. But I will say, I remember seeing highlights of Bradbury when we signed him and thinking, wow, this dude, he allows the receiver to, he's tight in coverage. He does not present a huge window for the quarterback to land the ball or hit the target. But when the receiver does get his hands on the ball, Bradbury is like fucking on point with poking that shit out of the receiver's hands. Just like I poked the headphone jack out of the microphone just now. That's Bradbury on a receiver.